quarterbacks more than wide receivers?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
They just don't get the criticism. But quarterbacks, man, them selfish. Boy, don't get me started.
Okay.
Jeff will tell you.
Well, that's why I wanted to mention. You never hear it from offensive linemen, but our guy Jeff Saturday, who joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, he went straight diva. He's like, you better put me in this segment of the show because I got plenty to say. Don't cut me off. And Jeff is with us, the Super Bowl
Zubin,
champ.
can you answer the question? Jeff,
go ahead.
Who's more sensitive or more diva-like? Wide receivers or quarterbacks?
Wide receivers, it ain't even close, man.
Okay, so you're gonna ask a guy. You're gonna ask the
you
guy.
Just told us to
hold
ask
on.
him.
No, I know I did. But you're gonna really think to ask this guy who protected quarterbacks for a damn living. Who's more sensitive? You're going to ask him that, and you really think he's going to go against QBs and Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning, one of his best friends, man. You think he's going to give you the goods on Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers? Come on, stop.
Sounds sensitive, Key.
No, I'm not sensitive.
I'm joking.
Jeff knows.
Hey, listen. Listen, Key. We know now. We know them receivers. First of all, you're always open. I've never heard a wide receiver ever think they're covered. Them dudes can have triple coverage. They're still always open, and they're coming back to the huddle complaining about they ain't feeding me. They want to feed somebody. They ain't trying to pay me, man. They ain't trying to pay me. That's every good wide receiver you ever played with, and that's what you want. But that's what makes them great.
Oh, going back to the huddle and saying those things. Speaking of going to the huddle, Jeff, what is going on with the Buccaneers offense? We watched them the other day. I feel like I almost said a Sunday night game because it was a 4:25 game and it was dark and it felt like the Sunday night game against Kansas City. What's going on with the offense?
Listen, this is an offense that's predicated on protection first, right? Like when you think about the style that Bruce Arians has run and really what Tom Brady ran in New England is everything was based around protection, and you're just not seeing it right now. There's too many free rushers coming through. Brady's not comfortable. You even saw the interception, and I think Tony Romo even made mention of it, right? He and the receiver, I think it was Evans, aren't on the same page. He's not turning around on the hot route or not separating enough or getting wide enough on his route. It's all of those things, but I would liken it back to they haven't practiced it, right? I mean, and everybody, here's the part that really bothers me. Everybody's like, oh, if they had motion, this would fix the problem. I'm not sure what brain trust thinks that's the truth, but you start motioning guys, you have no idea where the blitz is coming from, who's bringing what, who's responsible for what, and they haven't had time to practice those things. So in my opinion, with what they're doing, they need to figure out, are we a throw hot team or are we a block it up team? And you made mention, right? I played with Peyton for a long time. He was a block it up guy. He wanted to know how every potential rusher was going to get picked up in our blocking scheme. Aaron Rodgers, just the opposite, right? He didn't care if a guy was coming free off the edge. He wanted to be able to manipulate the pocket, move out, and buy time. So there's completely two different styles. But I can tell you this about Tom Brady. He ain't a move it out of the pocket guy. That guy is 4 yards behind the center, and he's a statue. So you better figure out how to block this thing up and help this offense, because you can't make the throws down the field, and he's already not accurate doing it anyway, but you can't make those throws if there's guys in your face and trying to make those plays. It just doesn't fit. This week in the bye week, man, they got to work on that thing. I think that's really where it starts.
Jeff, it just feels like every time I watch Tom in the past, when he had a legit running game in the play action, it just helped relieve, right? And he wasn't throwing a lot of deep balls too. How much of this do we need to put on Bruce Arians?
I mean, I think the burden should be on all of them. I mean, listen, you're in it together, right? I mean, whether it's Bruce Arians and Leftwich and Brady and, Tom Moore, name all of them. Like, who, offensive line, like the whole group has to kind of own this. The one thing I would say about last week's game is Kansas City got to such a hot start. It was tough to even get the run game going, right? Because you're playing from such a deficit. But, they had 5 rushes the week before. I think it was there's the lowest ever in NFL history history, again, that's not going to bode well for this type of offense. And you make a great point. If you're going to have 2 tight end sets, at some point you have to be physical. You got to set the run game up. And they're not doing a good job. And I feel like it's one of those things, Jay, where they try to force what's just not there, right? And I don't care what kind of receiving core you have. At some point, you have to find rhythm. And when it's 3 and out and turnover, and you see guys, you see the pressure kind of that Brady's feeling and everybody's feeling. I mean, just look at how dejected he looks on the sideline. Like, that's not what you're used to, right? You're used to a guy coming over, hey, we're going to fix the problems. They're not doing that right now as a group, and I think they should all share in the burden.
Oh, I had Evan in my ear. Sorry. That was our producer, Jeff. I'm sorry. I had our producer in my ear, and I was trying to listen to him and listen to you at the same time. Let me ask you about last night, though. What did you see from Carson Wentz to that offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles? We know, well documented, they've had 10 different exchanges and groups and all those sort of things. They lead the league. We get all that. But what did you see from the quarterback?
Yeah, he is not helping his own situation, right? So when you're getting sacks, that's offensive line, it's running backs, it's receivers running routes when they're supposed to break their routes off. But there's I don't think Wentz is confident in the game plan being called, so he's hesitant on the throws, right? And then he's been inaccurate on top of that. So now he doesn't want to let it go. He's trying to protect the football and not turn it over. Y'all made the joke about Levy, predicting an interception, and it's true, and I think Wentz feels that. So what's he going to do? He's going to hold the ball and just eat it, right, and take sacks. So you're going to see those sack numbers go up. I think the problem, that I see is everybody's like, oh, well, Hurts is going to be the answer. Well, if you don't have receivers separated, you don't have a line that protects them, I'm not sure he's going to give you any more of an advantage than Carson Wentz is. It's one of those things that's disheartening to watch because I do think Wentz has talent, but I think in his mind he is so locked up, and you know what I'm talking about, man. Both of you guys, like, there's a time when a competitor gets locked up in his brain, like he can't get out of his own way, and I think you see that week after week because he wants to perform well. He just freezes up in the moment right now, and it's just costing his team. And listen, when you're the dude, and I know everybody talks about, well, he's getting too much. Well, they get too much credit when they win too, right? So they got to take all the credit when they lose. It's just one of those things, man. It's just piling on and tough to overcome.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, ESPN analyst. You hear me, right? You're listening clear.
Yep.
Who's responsible for those lack of weapons, players that are on the field? Is it the general manager and Howie Roseman, or is it the development from the head coaches and position coaches? Because these kids that are coming out of college didn't forget how to play football overnight.
I could agree with you more, right? Like, I mean, I think, again, are you going to have a situation where guys don't produce? Sure, but I think they're few and far between where guys just, quote, can't play, right? I mean, you have to develop the guys who you're bringing in your locker room. And the other part that does, Key, and you and I both know this, is that's what builds your locker room, man. It's, guys getting on the field and excelling or having that's the building blocks. Like, to try to bring guys in, that's okay if you're just trying to band-aid an issue or trying to kind of foster a little bit of a better roster, but you got to build it from the draft. And when you're watching this, like, where are the guys? I mean, and they made mention of they haven't drafted a Pro Bowler in 7 years or whatever it is. Well, some of that, man, there's some undrafted guys who have gone to Pro Bowls, right? Like, you're looking at one, like, you don't always have to be like, build your program from within and develop these guys. And that part is as much on the staff as it is on the front office. At some point, you have to develop the guys who are on your locker, not always look to the next or we're going to draft some other guy to replace him. The guys who are there have to effectively play, and there's just nobody who they're building, and that's a tough place to be in if you're the Eagles, man, because it looks like the whole organization is just kind of out of sorts.
Mm-hmm. No question about it. He glossed over it, but we should mention Jeff went from undrafted to Super Bowl champion, and the Eagles need to find some of those diamonds in the rough the way Jeff accentuated his career as a champion. The Eagles are looking for those dudes. There's no doubt about it.
I don't like Jeff no more.
Why? Because he speaks the truth. Thank you, Jeff.
You guys got a good win over UNLV last night. Congrats, man.
Hey, you know what? I knew you'd be back talking now, dude. Don't try to. That was a softball. We never talked about Carolina beating up on them Dukies football-wise a couple of weeks ago. You kind of hid in the bushes a little bit.
Have nothing
now
to say,
all of a sudden,
Jeff.
basketball season's coming on, and it's
I'm
Duke.
being yelled at. We got to go to break.
Shot,
We got to go to break. Let's go to break. Let's go to break.
Jeff, we'll see you next week, man. Thank you very much. On the way.
Love y'all, man. Be good.
You too,
Same
brother.
to you. The Cubs might dump Bryant. The Bears might dump Trubisky. So let's talk to a